Today, we're going to talk about the enterprise service bus pattern and why you need one. So in almost every organisation, you have multiple systems. And what tends to happen is that over time, someone says, oh, I need my system to talk to that one. I need my point of sale to talk to my financials. And then the financial says, oh, I need to talk to the warehouse. And the warehouse might then say, oh, I need to talk to the product catalogue. And the product catalogue might also need to talk to the financials, but then the point of sale needs the product catalogue. And so you get a connection there, and then over time what you find is that every system ends up having to talk to every other system. And you end up with the proverbial spaghetti. Now this has got a lot of problems. Now not only is this just look like a mess, but when you try to maintain it, you've got confusion as to, well, okay, this system has a change to its interface, so I've not only got to change this in 4 places, but that system needs to know about all those other systems. So I get loads of spaghetti, that's bad. This has got dependencies, hard dependencies on those other systems, that's bad. And so if I want to change this system, I've potentially got to make loads of other change, because I change this interface, then suddenly I've got to change this system, and I've got to change this system, and I've got to change this one, and I've got to change this one. That cost of change is bad. Anything goes wrong with one of these, it affects everything else. It's brittle. That's bad. And so we don't have that level of isolation because everything's got knowledge of everything else. And then also, this system can't necessarily always do its work because it's got to wait for all the others. And so you have performance issues there. That's also bad. So there have been various patterns that have come in over time to help solve this problem. So if we get rid of all this red spaghetti, what we do instead, in terms of our pattern, is we put in an enterprise service bus. Note that an enterprise service bus is a pattern, not a product. So in the middle of here, we put in an ESB. And that means that system A can talk to the ESB, system B, system C, D, and E, and every other system you've got. Now each of these has its own data format or schema and protocol. So system A might communicate with REST, system B might be SOAP, system C might have flat files, system D might have some other hokey old mainframe TCP/IP. But if that's the case, then system A over here doesn't need to know about TCP/IP. All it needs to do is, I've got to emit a message to the ESB, and then I can forget about it. And so, but the other thing is, this hokey old mainframe down here, if you want to swap that out with some more modern system, and you put in system D+, then you've only got to change this one link here. Everything else is the same. You've isolated all these other systems from that change. So that is a really, really big advantage to you. It gives you much less impact when you want to make a change. And of course, now we're replacing our old systems with SaaS, we're moving stuff to the cloud. And so what you find is that if you've got the right pattern here, all that gradual cloud and SaaS migration is a lot easier. Big advantage for you. So, why would you want an enterprise service bus? Well, it's a clean architecture. You know what everything is. Each of these systems has got their responsibility. The enterprise service bus has got its responsibility. You've got one thing for each thing. You've achieved this isolation in that, okay, the ESB has to do the translation, but that's the limit of it. You know you've got that contained when you need to change an interface, change a protocol, change a schema, or change a whole system. That's isolated. The other thing is that if you have a failure in the system over here, it might not affect this one at all, because this can still emit messages into the ESB, even if this system's down, and then when you fix that, those messages will flow through, and that gives you some fault tolerance. Another thing that's really important actually is that when you have a business process, so let's say I receive a customer order on my website, and then that needs to go and generate a sales order in my financials and then go to that warehouse. Now what I can do now is I can actually orchestrate that. So I can say, okay, step one here is generate the order. Then I need to go into the financials and get some sort of order ID, which then needs to then flow through to the warehouse for dispatch. I can actually create processes that orchestrate between the various systems. So that ability to have orchestration, and hence an automated business process, we've got that. And then there's also the performance aspect of it. So what we found is that we don't couple the performance of our different systems. Now I've got a question mark on performance in both places because nothing comes for free. You still have to worry about the performance of your ESB, but if you're building that on modern cloud-based technologies, you've got the scalability in there, so it should be all right as long as you've done it correctly. So we can tick that one off. So in general, if you've got multiple systems that need to talk to each other, you want to implement the ESB pattern. And what we're going to do in the next video is talk about how you do that on Azure.